What's up, everybody, and thanks for clicking on the video. This was an incredibly fun time to record, but as you're about to hear at the 11th hour of me recording this interview with Jeremy, we had some technical difficulties with both of our mics, and so one of them died, so we had to share one. So the audio is a little wonky. It sounds a little hollow, but please do your best to bear with it because there's a lot of really awesome information, a lot of behind the scenes, how the sausage is made kind of stuff. So with that said, if you like this video and you like the content like it, let me know down in the comments down below so that I can show UVS Games that interviews with a dev like this are important and they are wanted. So without further ado, please enjoy the
What's up,
interview.
everybody, and welcome back to an incredibly special video here today. I'm Tam, and I'm joined by Jeremy Ray. First and foremost, how are you, man?
I'm good. It's been awesome this weekend to be here at an event. I don't get to go to all of these, but I always like it when I'm here and I get to talk and hang out with everybody. So I'm really excited to be here.
Hell yeah, I love that. We are in the casting area, if you can tell by the background, after hours, after Swiss rounds of the Albuquerque Regional. So, not quite sure what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm excited. We're going to talk a little bit about it at the very end, so stick with us. But before we jump into the hard-hitting questions that I know you guys all have questions for, Jeremy, introduce yourself to the people. What do you do for UniVersus, and who are you as a UVS player?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Jeremy Ray. I'm a senior game designer for UniVersus Games. I've recent promotion. I've been a part of the community since 2006. I started playing with the very first release when the game was still UFS, and I was playing up until COVID competitively. I won a world championship in 2014. And then during COVID, I was reached out to that company to work on some contract work. Eventually, that turned into game design work, and it's led me to here. It's been a really crazy journey. I've seen a lot of eras of the game, and yeah, I really, really like. I don't know. It's really been an important part of my life, my whole life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've known Jeremy for an incredibly long time. A bit of a selfish story. Our first time playing ever was in an Atlanta PTC.
Correct.
I played Dr. Wily. You
Yeah.
played Mega Man.
Yep.
And you absolutely washed me. You said my deck was very cool, but you
It was-
outskilled the heck out of me.
Super cool. And that was I love canon battles.
Yeah.
Like whenever I see in current times King Ghidorah versus Godzilla, I'm like, this is as intended.
As a caster, it's very hard not to pick those matchups
Yes.
to be like,
I love a canon
you're
battle.
not doing incredible in the tournament, but man,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
juicy on stream. Love that, love that.
Yeah.
So the reason that I wanted to have a chat with you, and UVS Games, big shout out to them for letting us even sit down and have this conversation. Thank you guys. Was Attack on Titan has
Yes.
as of today, as of recording, has been legal 24 hours. It's just happened. And we both communicated, and we wanted to talk a little bit about Attack on Titan as a whole, not
Yeah.
from like a sales aspect, but honestly from your expertise, the design aspect. Attack on Titan was Titanic. That's the word I
Yeah.
used. Colossus. It was
Large.
massive, not just in the IP is very large,
Yes.
but the game took a huge fundamental shift, a change that divisive.
At times, yes. for
split
sure.
split some ideas. Some people absolutely loved it, some people hated it, and I think that there's both sides are acceptable. It's a game, you're allowed to like or not like a game. But what I wanted to do is sit down and talk a little bit about the decisions behind some of these for AOT 1, 2, and 3, which
Yeah.
you have a pretty heavy hand in all of,
Yes.
as well as talk about the things that you liked, you didn't like, you
Yeah.
learned, you thought were massive successes, things that we can try and get better in the future. It's like a really open, how the sausage is made conversation about all of
Yeah.
Attack on Titan.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have that conversation. I feel like we haven't always necessarily communicated all of the reasons for the things clearly. Like we've done articles and writings, but like there's a nuance to conversation that isn't
Yeah.
expressed through like an article or
Totally.
a link on a website. You know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So let's start with the 300 card elephant in the room. Let's talk the difference between pre AOT, so like say My Hero Girl Power Back,
Yeah.
into Attack on Titan. Um, Jeremy, I think the game's perfect.
Yeah,
You guys
certainly.
took some absolutely major swings. Largest set that's ever been created.
Yes.
You introduced a brand new timing in the Blitz keyword.
Yes.
You reduced symbol representation, which I think is the first time that's ever happened in the history of the game.
Yeah, pretty
That-
much. Unless you count small products like some of the DLCs or
Sure.
something.
Yeah,
But
yeah. A major box that like six of the
Yes,
symbols were
yes.
just missing. Two character symbols. That's a big deal.
Yes.
Character rarity coming back. The idea of a draftable set. Backups as a new card type. We haven't had a new card type
Yes.
ever.
Pretty much. There's been things that are like kind of adjacent.
Yeah,
But
the
not.
mold, the switch,
Yes.
the two side cards or whatever, the two
Yeah.
type cards, before my time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, shifting cards, so like transforming, outwit as a mechanic. We're talking AOT 2. There's a ton of infinite. Like there's so much to unpack in this set.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot.
wherever you want to start, man. What?
Sure. Maybe we go down the list from kind of the way that players probably saw all these things.
Yeah, I love that.
We'll start with the size of the set. 300 cards. So, I think let's talk about the motivation.
Sure.
For one, we wanted to candidly experiment with our set size. There wasn't necessarily a consensus on like what is the best size for us as a company, but also like good and healthy for our players for purchasing and
Yeah.
feeling like they're getting value out of their boxes and things like that. And so one of the ideas with AOT was like, what if we released this oversized core set basically that like you can buy in, you can build out of, and you could get a fairly self-sufficient sort of card pool out of just this single set. And then also, it is a big set. There's a lot of cards to collect in it. It has a lot of depth for a sustained kind of, hey, your local store might want to run drafts or sealed pools, and those stay enticing for longer because there's a lot of cards to get out of the set.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a huge success.
Okay.
Like candidly, I think that there's things about that were very, very valuable to learn,
Sure.
but people have correctly pointed out that even getting a play set of rares required purchasing so much product, and it forced people into the secondary market a little more than we would have liked.
Yeah.
And which also means we're not when they're feel pushed into the secondary market to get the things they need. They're not buying boxes,
Totally.
which is not ideal for us either, and it's not ideal for you guys to feel pushed in.
And I think it's a fair experiment to have of
Yeah.
let's I'll use this word, it sounds negative. Let's bloat this set and make it nice and large. There's a ton of different options of cards. You can play cards however you
Yes.
want, yada yada. As opposed to we have tried smaller sets. I want to say back in the day, Street Fighter for Darkstalker was like a 97 card set.
Yeah, 87 maybe even.
Tiny.
It was super small.
That's so small. I buy 6 boxes. I have it all.
Yeah.
I have everything.
And that's
so like
generous, honestly. You could get 3 in a couple singles and you're done.
that experiment wasn't the healthiest. It didn't work
No.
out exactly for the so I think swinging the pendulum the other way, trying it, experimenting with it,
Yes.
and finding that Goldilocks level of this is too
Yeah.
small, this is too big. Let's find something as AOT 2 and AOT 3
And-
has shown.
For people who may not be inclined to believe that it was like an experiment or something, remember AOT Set 2 was a smaller normal size. Those were both in production basically together back to back before any player ever saw or heard of the set size. It was something we were isolating to see what it was like, and then we went back to what we already kind of established as something that felt like a healthy size,
Yeah.
just to play it, safe in case we were wrong.
Yeah.
And candidly, like the experiment, there was again very valuable learnings from it, and then there's things about that set size that we think are cool and interesting, like that core set feel. But I think we found better ways to get to that core set without having to throw 300 cards at our players.
And without having done that experiment, you wouldn't have learned to then make a future thing,
Yes.
2026, 2027, something very cool.
I want to put like an asterisk here. I think it's, especially in the near future, unlikely we'd ever do a set again that big. But if, say, like we got a IP that just is an enormous world, an anime with 1 million episodes or whatever, and we want to express that in like a single set, maybe a big set is still the right call,
Sure.
so we can cover all the things that the players care about in that world in that one release we have access to do.
Yeah.
So this isn't saying it's never going to happen, but this is never the norm. This is a tool that we understand a lot more about now and we can do better with
Yeah.
when executing, that we kind of understand better.
So let's talk card size, massive. Let's dive in a little bit.
Yes.
Reduced simple representation is something that I think a lot of people didn't like,
Yes.
and me personally being one of them. I am a huge advocate of all symbols being equal and having some sort of everybody should all rise together as sets grow, and everybody should get
Yes.
new tools, and because there's different players that want to play different ways, to the point where remember in My Hero Set 2,
Yes.
all of those cards that had the symbol attunement, symbol restrictions on them,
Yes. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like, hey, Searing Glacial Storm, great one.
Yes,
If I had the
yes.
order symbol, I do a thing.
You do the
The
thing.
fact that they were all 12 represented, primo.
Really, very, very good.
Very cool. If they would have skipped 2, I would have been livid, even if
Yes.
I never played those cards ever. Just on the principle of treat all the symbols equally,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Take care of them.
We slashed them in half and said these 6 aren't going to be played at all
Right.
for literally 3 sets.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on good, bad, ugly? What does it do to them? What did you expect it to do to like the metagame at high level competitive play
Yeah.
versus what happened? Like, there's got to be some sort of we thought it was going to be this and it turned out to be this, or maybe you were just right. Hey, we wanted these 6 symbols to be represented, and then they were because we printed the cards for them.
I think so. The key part of that conversation, I think, is execution and again learning. So we wanted to express the world of AOT as a smaller resource deprived world, like things
Okay.
that they don't have access to all the same things, and the island of the main characters. It's a very small world to start, and it grows and expands. But the resources are starved. The people of the city are literally starving. And one of the interesting things that we also wanted to experiment with from a game design standpoint is like how many symbols should be in a set to make sure that when we're expressing these symbols, they are all getting these concepts are all getting the proper representation. And I think that parts of that experiment were very valuable. I think that we learned candidly that like 3 sets of this is not ideal.
Yeah.
Like some things that are represented, and I do think there's something worth flagging here because there is some conversation there. We can't do this experiment without a 2,
Yeah.
right? Because those other characters that don't have those symbols aren't getting nothing in most instances, with some exceptions.
Yeah.
But
My hood players, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
pour one out. But I love that. The reality of it, though, I think it was probably too few symbols, and it probably went a few sets too long. But I think we learned some really cool things about how we can tamp in packages. I think some of the packages in AOT are as clear as anything we've ever kind of done execution wise in UVS. So like Air wants to clear cards and benefit from clearing cards.
Yeah.
Chaos wants to get a bunch of momentum and do cool things with their momentum, or even just count it for effects. Death wants to destroy their own things, their opponent's things, whatever they can get their hands on.
Right.
Life wants to gain health and kind of discourage you from punching them. Order is like the committee boy and also kind of sets rules. Like, hey, we commit all those things if you use them. That's breaking the law. And am I forgetting something? Fire wants to mill a bunch of stuff and like put out big, fast, aggressive numbers. They want to end the fight before it starts, and a little bit of a lean into fury and things like that to kind of encapsulate things like Aaron.
Passion.
Yes. So, and I think that those identities have never been more clearly defined in a block of sets in our game's history. That was one of the cool things that a small symbol base does. But it does create, especially over the course of 3 sets, a disproportionate representation for these symbols in the meta. Not ideal.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people be like, man, I think that AOT would have been a really awesome set if we had sprinkled in other AOT sets
Yeah.
later, right? If
Yeah.
we AOT one and then Critical Role happens, a different IP,
Yeah.
a new My Hero set. I'll just say that, and then like now we have AOT two, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
those other two sets got to offset our symbol choices, even if those sets were experiments as well with the other six symbols or mixing three and three or
Yes.
whatever. It was the fact that it was so much all at once that the other ones, you did it. You
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely crushed the theme. The other six symbols felt starved.
Yes.
They
They were hungry boys.
behind the walls, not getting food.
Yes.
For sure.
And that is something like saying we have heard the players is almost an understatement. Like we understood very quickly that like, all right, we track the number of cards of each symbol in the card pool and things
Yeah.
like that, and a tune is like slightly different math. And kind of where the card pool is at by the end of AOT 3 is probably one of the most disproportionate card representations, again skewed by the way a tune works, that we've ever had. That's not ideal. That is not the long-term plan.
Yeah.
The long-term plan is to find a way to do this, to get the things we like out of it, the really tamped down themes, the really like, you kind of get if you're a fan of just one set or IP and you just buy into that set, making sure you get enough stuff to flesh out your ideas from that set.
Yeah.
Some of the things reducing symbols really do benefit those things, but like six symbols over three sets creates a card pool disparity that is not healthy. And in the future, the plan is to level the water a lot more with this sort of thing. And also, we learned a lot. Like we've learned, from Critical Role, which had a few more symbols.
Yeah.
People don't feel that pain very much with Critical Role. You don't really hear that complaint. That's good science for us.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
hear it
yeah.
with a 6, you don't necessarily hear it with 8 or 9.
Yeah.
That's good for us to know. We learned a lot from that. And there was a lot of one of the core principles of the whole team is authenticity. There was a lot of hey, AOT is a big deal to a lot of people. It's an important anime. A lot of people say it's their favorite or the best objectively. We wanted to make sure that anyone who was an AOT fan buying into this product felt like they were getting something that really, really cared about being an AOT product. It wasn't just numbers slapped on AOT pictures. Like it was Aaron's fury and Bertolt's destruction and just all of those things. Like that was super important to us, and a lot of these experiments were in pursuit of that. Some of those experiments did have adverse effects on the larger card.
I will flip it back positive because obviously it's very easy to see the things that you mess up on, and it's very hard even when you really care about a thing to see the things that are positive.
Yes.
I want to give you a couple of roses. I think that the themes being fairly clearly defined, specifically what the symbols do, do a lot to alleviate for years and years and years and years and years. I always heard our game is so sick, our 12 symbols, they all do different things. And that just wasn't true. It was just,
unfortunately, very much
just
not
a
true.
lie.
Yeah.
The way the attune symbol works, which I think is the thing that we'll jump into next of why you decided to
Natural
make
bridge.
attunes,
Yes.
I think that it does very clearly when I look at my Chaos and Air character. This guy's getting momentum. He's clearing cards from his card pool.
Yes.
He gets a bonus. Like you look at Jean from AOT 1.
Yes.
If I clear, I get a momentum, and I'm
Yes.
messed up when I use momentum.
Yes.
Perfect. That's very clearly defined.
Yes.
What you look
He's
at the
living
card,
in his identity.
It is absolutely it, and you can see that in 99% of every card, every character in AOT. And so, from a design point, that feels good.
Yeah.
If we would have tacked on a couple more symbols, like in Critical Role, it would feel that much better. Which you can't have Critical Role if you don't have Attack on Titan, and that's just the truth of the matter.
Yes.
So let's talk attuned, because I think this is big. Another massive experiment.
Yes.
Of
100%.
Part of the real identity. We've been talking about principles all weekend. One of the principles of our game is cards have 3 symbols.
Yes.
You can put this one card in 3 different decks, and it shapes and molds what these
here's the color pie
things can do. Yeah, here's the color pie. Attuned flips that totally on its head and no longer cares about the contents of your deck, but cares about the character itself.
Yes.
What was the initial who pitched it? I want to know. What was the initial thought? Somebody woke up from a dream and was like, I'm gonna do something crazy with UniVersus, this very old card game. Let's flip it on its head.
Yeah. So I think, and like speaking as like, when even it came to me as like 2006 player, I was like, wait, what?
Knock it
Like,
off.
what are you even talking
This is
about?
my sacred cow. How dare you?
This is a crazy thing you're saying to me right now. And then they pitched it, and I'll kind of give you some of the ideas that the team had come up with to put like propel this, and I think largely I ended up agreeing with most of those concepts. And again, like execution is a thing. It was a new concept. I don't think we nailed the execution in every corner of a tune in this first step, but I think you can already see progress from things
Totally.
like Critical Role and AOT as we learn to use it as a tool.
As it pushes down, like the difference
Yeah.
between what Attune did in AOT 1 versus 3,
Yes.
is just already vastly better.
Yes.
Like it just is.
And so one of the ideas is, for one, it's really funny that so many of our characters have 3 symbols, and our players often only ever care about one of them on their character. Only one of those symbols generally. There's a few exceptions. Usually those exceptions are problematic, like a Kirishima one just top cutting on all 3 of his symbols because he's so strong.
Correct.
But most of the time it's like, hey, I'm playing this deck. This is their symbol that optimizes them as a character.
Yeah.
And everything else is a kitchen table symbol at best. Sometimes just even completely ignored. We wanted the symbols on characters to matter a little bit more. We wanted to go, hey, I need a death fire character. Or this character I like that has death fire gets to combine these 2 powerful elements, like your, death destroys or triggers when mill cards.
Yeah.
And like these characters can combine these elements in ways that other characters can't. We thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite part of a tune is that specific part where it's like, hey, all the symbols on my character matter now in a different way that they didn't do before. And then also largely, this is a real new player problem. I know some people are gonna roll their eyes at it, but like our resource system with 3 symbols is not always exactly intuitive to players.
Totally.
You
I
can
totally
say
agree.
like, hey, all you have to do is make sure every card in your deck has this one symbol. And that sounds simple enough on paper, but when you're looking at a bunch of cards, it doesn't always make sense. Like, a tune is very simple. Your character has the symbol, it can play the card. So, for new players, and something that I'll maybe touch on a little bit more, but it might not be necessary, AOT was largely a more successful set in onboarding new players.
Yeah.
Things like Attune, like worked very well with new players. It's like, can I play this card? Look at your character. Yeah, simple enough. And that was part of it to see like, hey, how would they adopt this new system? But also, it was cool design space where it was like, hey, what if we want cards that are just a fundamental foundation of power. This is a fire card through and through. It does a fiery thing. It's meant for fire characters. It pushes fire decks forward. And I think that was like another thing that really kind of helped sell me on it was like, we can really carve out specific niches for these cards' mechanics through a tune in a way where it's like, why is this card that does a very fire thing also have water on it? Because
Where is that representation, right?
Because Todoroki has both.
He's an ice guy. He's a fire ice guy. You
He's
gotta have water and
Water,
fire.
fire. Water, fire guy. So it would have been cool, even like, it's funny, but Todoroki's a great example of this, where it's like we could represent the fiery parts of his power with fire attuned cards, and the icy parts of his power with water attuned cards.
Yeah.
That wasn't an option before.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, I think, like, every time that I've had a conversation with you, at events or whatever, one of the main reasons to come to events, you can talk to UVS Games employees, you love the analogy of tools in the tool belt.
Yes.
And attuned gets to just be another tool in that tool belt and to express your buzzword. And I think that the main buzzword for UniVersus is the authenticity of the IP, which is a big deal, right? Yeah. There are plenty of card games that are so crunchy and mechanical. Like, how many times have you seen a card game that says, after I play this, mill the top X cards of my deck, add this one character to my hand? It is all over in every card game ever. It is so much. But that doesn't really happen here amongst a bunch of different archetypes.
Yes.
Right?
It's less common here.
Yeah.
And we get to be a little broader in those kind of designs, because we have the ability to kind of hyper-focus them to the places they want to be or belong.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to necessarily say you can only do this one thing when you play this ability with this one character that cares about this thing.
Yeah.
We can go, hey, a lot of characters are really angry, so this Fury card is really cool for Endeavor or Aaron because they're both really angry dudes.
Both angry guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that we get to express with the tools in our toolbox.
Let's talk a little bit about drafting.
Yes.
We came out of a ton of My Hero sets, My Hero Spotlight, you could say. We had so
Yeah.
much My Hero, massive block, to the point where, with the rebrand, My Hero Academia collectible card game.
Yes, we
Uh,
were,
for-
we're the
for-
MHACCG as far as
Yes.
game stores were concerned for
Yes.
about a year there.
Yeah, and so we've popped in a couple of challenger decks, and we got
Yeah.
the Yu Yu Hakusho set, and then Attack on Titan came out. Massive 300 card set. We're focusing on these symbols. Because of Attuned, we are draftable.
Yes.
You hated it. You hated it. I hated it. I think it's very, very hard to find a good way to draft UniVersus. Tell me a little bit about the thought process going into why did you even bother doing drafts? Were you Spotlight is such a weird thing. It was forced for My Hero, but that's not really the sport. The idea of universes.
Correct.
It's a bunch of different universes. Why are you trying to isolate and segregate the IPs? Like there's a lot of ways that you can push back. Defend yourself, Jeremy.
Okay. I want to start with the subjective thing of draft.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing I agree with you that for the most part, we don't have a lot of people in our community who are super into limited play.
No.
That's just the reality of it. It's a reality that we've kind of had to face as a company. I like drafting in our game. I have always, and you can go back to pre-corporate shill Jeremy Ray.
Sure.
I've always liked drafting our game. Even in the sets where it wasn't particularly well done,
Yeah.
I thought it was a really cool experience because our game creates a fairly unique draft experience. But it was always a pain in the ass in the past because there wasn't a character in every pack, and so it was like you had to like bring bonus characters or piles of characters to borrow from, and also some of the characters were rares and ultra rares, and it's like, hey, those aren't in the draft pile because they're a pain, and I don't want you guys to take them home when we're done. And
Yeah.
like there was a bunch of problems with it, and there is a subset of players. I know a few. I'll shout out like Jesse Cervini has been very pro limited play, and there's sets where the people who care about limited play. I'll give an example of this. We really worked hard on the draft format for Jetburn. Like we focus tested draft, and I think Jetburn is a sick draft set. But our players just aren't that interested in limited formats. Candidly, it's just not something they care. And I think that some of that is an impression that has existed because it wasn't a very good drafting game for a really long time.
So like, draft has this everlong generational stink.
Yeah.
And like it is perpetually it's bad because my dad said it's bad. Not
yes.
because we're giving it like a fair shake.
One of the biggest personal sadnesses for me
Sure.
was I don't think a lot of people really engaged in Burn Draft to see if it was good because they had already kind of made up their mind.
Yeah.
And here's the thing though. There's a lot of people who just don't like limited play in any card.
Totally.
That is a huge part of that. And I think our community has probably a disproportionately high number of those players because our game, and this is something that I think almost everyone who plays our game, especially entrenched players, would agree with, is kind of a deck builder's paradise.
So good.
You can do all sorts of stuff. Every once in a while, someone, we've seen some of it this weekend, will pull out a card that hasn't come out of someone's binder in 2 years and then top an event with it.
Swiss champ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You will find people who have been grinding with the same character for a year, and then they finally have a breakthrough in competitive play, and then they're topping with that character constantly. Or you'll have, character specialists, breakthroughs, old binders. You can play Rodan as a control deck, as an aggro deck, as a mid-range deck, and if you want to, you can play any character in any of those archetypes. Limited play takes the deck builder's paradise out of the equation. It is often people's favorite part of our game. So that pain point is also totally valid. I understand why some people just aren't interested in engaging with our game at that level, because I've heard so many times since 2006 that my favorite part of UFS is building decks.
Yeah.
There's people, you probably know some of them, who have hundreds of decks in UVS Ultra. Hundreds of them.
100%.
Because they just love making decks.
Big shout outs to folders.
Yeah, yes.
Good addition.
So we really wanted to push for the people who wanted to try draft and wanted to engage with it to make a better drafting experience. Uh, Jetburn was kind of the real heavy start of that. There was like a soft lead into it, but it does add to development time. It adds to testing time. You have to dedicate testing time to those sorts of things. So it's not a free real estate type of thing. It requires resources to do. We have committed to it. We haven't gone away from trying to continue to create using the learnings we've had from the pushes, but we understand that like draft isn't necessarily the thing right now for players. So we're working on other things that the players have more readily in place and using some of those extra resources in that while still using the experience we have in draft to make sure that our sets are all draftable and enjoyable.
Sure.
But we can't force people to play draft. And I don't want to force people to play draft. If you're like me and you try to convince your local players like Phil Birch to play a sealed deck and he'd rather just not.
Yes, you'd rather just not.
Yes. There's no point, right? I love it. You know, some of my friends don't, and that's okay.
One of the most fun things that you can do at a regional, like at Albuquerque,
Yeah.
Nick Reagan, the player, did not top cut. Go ask him to play his cube draft.
Yes. His
It
cube is sick.
The most fun you can actually have playing kitchen table universes.
Especially if you haven't seen old cards, because you're going to read a card and then you're going to go, this does what? And you're going to hold it up to Nick and go, huh?
Yeah, that one was never really playable.
Yeah. And then you'll say that. And then you're like, my world. Like,
What? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There is, like, with UniVersus being, I believe, the best card game that's ever been made. Full stop. I believe that wholeheartedly. It is 1, and then the next best card game is 5. I think that there is a world where you can find enjoyment in draft.
yeah.
I think it is unbelievably hard because of our game system. It's so hard. When we talk about other games that I won't name, we don't have a land box. And I think that is a really detrimental issue and such a burden for you guys as draft. And it was tried to be fixed with AOT1. There were so many low power foundations, 1/5 good blocks that had just a deadlock. The point was, this is a 1/5 to be put in my draft deck, and I feel
100%.
great about it. When you take that bloated set because we wanted to make Spotlight and draft a thing, then you put in this land box card
Yes.
that has to be inside the pack, and the players only want to play constructed, feels kind of bad opening those. If I'm sure that there was a singular community out in the middle of random Iowa that is like, I love AOT1 draft. It's so sick.
Yeah.
It's just not the majority of the players.
Maybe Rochester was an enjoyer of it, but
Okay.
I'm not sure how many communities. We definitely have some people. Like, and we've heard even some funny, like, very specific pockets of feedback, which are always fun, like, they're coming from the local game shops. I love it when people send this. We're like, hey, this card in draft is really messed up. And just like a message on Discord sent to her, like a ticket system. And you're like, yeah, he's probably right, though. Like, yeah, you're onto something, dude.
Yeah. So I want to talk. So we talked about the I'll use this word. It sounds negative. Filler cards from AOT1.
Yes.
They're draft chaff.
The draft chaff.
as they say. I know there was a big push for simplicity in the game.
Yes.
Something mental load. We won't talk about that, but like there was a real design direction of taking the complexity, the ceiling of complexity of universes, and trying to lower it down just a little bit, but still keep the spirit and wellness of it with things like Blitz, which is a massive topic of its own.
Likely the most controversial of the changes. It's like it's it or a tune.
Yes,
but I
for
think
sure.
at this point, genuinely, I think the early reactions to a tune have shifted a bit, and I've seen people who didn't like a tune kind of coming around to it a little bit. Blitz, some of the early not enjoyers of Blitz, are still very high on their pedestals with their signs. They don't necessarily love it, but then there's some adamant people in the community who are Kevin Broberg today.
World champions, you could say.
Kevin Broberg today, I don't want to put him on blast, but was like, I can't wait till every card's a Blitz, I believe was his exact quote. So there's people who are in the pro camp, and there's people who are in the con camp. And I think I don't think that either party is explicitly right or wrong because it's a little bit subjective, and there's also an execution thing. Like we were learning how to use Blitz through AOT,
Yeah.
and like there is significant learnings and the best ways to approach it. There is some things that like we can do better as designers to make Blitz uh, less unpleasant in situations where it can be unpleasant, and also just leverage its strengths better.
And have, right? Like
Yeah.
again, compare AOT 1 versus AOT 3, and the blitzes in AOT 3 feel smoother, which was the point of Blitz, is to
Yes.
smooth out the attack staff.
Yes.
Our game, one of the core principles of our game is taking turns. This back and forth, this ping pong of I play a move, you play a move, I play a move, you play a
Yeah.
move. But if we could smooth out just what happens
little
on the
bit.
attack and
And-
focus on the gray ones, then
Yeah, and expedite it and make it a little easier for players to kind of get to a point where they're like, all right, now it's time to think about the interaction.
yeah.
And I'll use the analogy, you've heard this before. Blitz was largely both a sort of simplification of abilities that you're always going to play.
Right.
Like Blitz, enhance, draw one card is not a button you need to think about pushing.
Yeah.
You're outside of some extreme corner cases, it's a button you're always pushing. And in the case of Blitz, why not just expedite that push? I like to think of Blitz, Enhance, and Form in particular as lanes of traffic for abilities.
Sure.
And you've heard this before.
Yeah.
So, Blitz is supposed to be a kind of express fast lane, the carpool lane. Enhance is where the 7 lanes of freeway traffic, where lots of things are happening and people are cutting across at the last minute and making things happen. And then Form is kind of the time in between the freeway when you're on like the service drive and
Sure.
you're like things are happening and you're about to get onto the freeway. We wanted to move some traffic out of the very congested Enhanced lane because so much of our interaction was loaded into this one place, to a lane that sped up that gameplay a little bit and also felt easier for newer players to go, I played my attack, I did my attack's ability, now I can focus on my stage and focus on my opponent's stage and not have to stare at my attack for 3 times to figure out when I want to press this button.
Without getting rid of the agency of my attacks
Yes.
are all blank.
Yes.
Right? Like my attacks still do things.
They're still doing things. They're
They're
doing
just pop, pop, pop.
the stuff cool stuff that should happen when you play an attack.
Yeah.
And one of the things you'll notice about Blitz is that there is a little bit less interaction in that lane. We're not putting a lot of abilities on like respond to Blitz timing. There's a couple. We have a Blitz cancel and high speed dodge. And then there's a couple abilities that get into that lane without necessarily directly referencing it, like Nonagon and Fill Without
Yes.
and things like that. So those are ways to get into that lane without actually having to expressly interact with that lane. But keeping that traffic light in that lane is super valuable because it lets us go, let's get these quick executed, always press buttons out of the way, and then we can go into the interaction. We don't want to get rid of the interaction. The interaction is the heart of our game. Attacking and blocking, enhancing back and forth is what our game is about. It is, as we've said, a principle of the game. You do something, I get to do something.
Yeah.
But we're abridging some of the you do something, I do something kind of fiddly bits into the Blitz lane.
Let me pitch something to you that was not on our script because I had the
Yeah.
concept idea today. What if we change the timing of enhances and as the turn player, I play the first blitz, my rival plays the first enhance.
This is interesting, and so this is funny because it is something we messed around with.
Okay.
And it felt a little bad for the blitzing player in a way that we didn't think was going to be great for like a player experience, especially for newer players.
Okay.
Where it's like you did the thing and now your opponent has energy to mess you up. They get the initiative to kind of disrupt whatever thing you wanted to do next.
Okay.
And it didn't feel good as rewarding the active player for playing the 5 check, taking the risk of failing it, committing the resources to play abilities and using their character abilities. It didn't feel great, but from a kind of back and forth perspective, we did find it like nice because it's like, what if we kept the back and forth sort of that way? It just didn't feel as satisfying to do, and like one thing that, sometimes controversially, we want to reward people for attacking.
Yes, that's how you win the game.
Yes, we want to engage, like, we want you to be an active participant in the game. If both players are staring at each other, building foundations, I don't think either player is having the best time.
And as a caster,
And the casters are having a really bad time.
oh, holy cow, he built another one. Look at you. What's the next
Right.
form? Another gray one?
Attacks should be rewarding. You should gain benefits from them. You are taking the risk.
Sure.
And so that is part of why we didn't necessarily go that route. But like, there's an illusion that like, or I guess it's kind of a straw man or a hyperbolic argument that like we're pulling all the interaction out of the game. Like, your gray ones probably all do something. Your character certainly does something. Your attacks still do a thing, and you have access to block tricks and actions that can do things in between.
Yeah.
Your interaction points are all still there. They're just a little differently timed, and sometimes you have to essentially pass twice instead of once.
Yeah.
Also, and genuinely, we have seen at events a lot more games going to 3-game completion. Blitz seems to have, even just by a small amount, sped up game speed by a minute or two per match. That's a super valuable minute or two for a game that can get as gritty as ours,
Totally.
especially when people are bricking hands and they're going to go long even if they're not really meant to.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing like seeing two 6-hand size aggro decks both brick for 4 turns and then go, wait, what do I do when I have 12 foundations and they have 12 foundations? Like, I have no idea.
Play Unyielding Destruction.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
The new plan A.
No, I think that's fair. I like your descriptiveness of rewarding players taking the initiative to attack.
Yes.
And the fact that you get to do a couple extra things because you decided to play, you're on the offensive.
Yes.
Feels good and harkens all the way back to like even the game was originally designed around fighting games, right? And so like if I have you locked in the corner and I'm pressing a bunch of buttons, and you're holding back. I'm doing things, and you're not actually doing anything.
You are
right?
dealing with my frame traps and my advantage and my tricks and my mix-ups.
Yeah.
The active player is going to be rewarded for being the active player, and you will have your turn to be the active player if you live.
If you live. Well, I'm throwing next. So
yeah,
I'm right in the corner, just toss it. Yeah. I want to move to. Forecheck attacks.
Yes.
When I went to the summit, the first the first attack that they showed us, they were like blah blah blah. AOT is going to be a massive set. It's so cool.
I don't know this, by the way.
Here's an example of an attack in AOT. Here's the 13 diff. That's the first
one they
card
showed you
we
guys?
saw.
Bold choice.
13, 4, flip 5, ruin 7, and we went, what's a blitz? Wait, what's that? That number's a misprint, right? That's a 4, not a 3.
That number's wrong. What's a blitz?
Look at the top left.
What is a rune?
And there's such a sticker shock value of these cards. Another experiment.
Yes.
We printed the highest difficulty attack that's ever existed in the game.
Yes.
A colossal attack, you could say. A lot of people, I mean, I think this is actually the thing that is the most fully fledged out on our dot test of I hate forecheck attacks. I love forecheck attacks. Forecheck attacks or whatever. They're just another idea.
Yes.
When developing forecheck attacks and when coming up with the idea of the top left number is going to be bigger, so the bottom right number can be a little bigger.
Yes.
What was the pitch? Obviously, Attack on Titan, they're big.
Yes.
Did it do what you wanted to in that experimentation? And as we look into Attack on Titan 3, as you've, again, honed what the forechecks are, what are the directions for forechecks in the future? It does not have to be an Attack on Titan exclusive thing.
Yeah.
We get another Godzilla Challenger deck. Let's make the Ultra Rare forecheck. Why not?
Right. Yeah, so it's funny, because this is one where the decisiveness surprises me a little.
Yeah.
More than the other stuff. Like, forecheck attacks as a function, the idea was like, honestly, sort of almost silly simple. Like, our players don't play high difficulty attacks. They really don't. And especially anything past a 6 was just a no-go zone.
Impossible.
Unless your character had a gimmick that let you do it for free or for cheap.
Or that card was messed up.
But even those, like, can you think of many examples of a 7 diff that got played? And like, I know a few from historically, but
My big answer is just Guilty Throne.
yeah,
Guilty Throne, stack the top 2 cards, all in hands, draw 3. If I had
yes,
the all symbol and the ability to like pass checks,
yeah,
7
yeah,
diff that draws 3, crazy. Guarantees my next 2 checks, insane.
yes,
It was not so widespread, it was
no,
everywhere, right? Certainly not like the 4 checks that we have today,
yes.
but if I saw Guilty Throne hit the table, I was like, oh
And
no.
I love that you mentioned Guilty Throne, because that was like an absurd design to make people want to play the card.
Yes.
The power level was so off the charts.
Yes.
There's cards like Kaplow that was in this realm that had to be banned because it was just it was a 1 check 7 diff that was so impactful
Well,
that it like warped the game around it basically. Like getting 7 diffs and 8 diffs to be playable was a bit like making 1 checks that are like playable
Yeah.
and desirable. You have to push them so far that every time you make one interesting, it's a risk.
Mason Johnson, big
Yes.
shout outs, a previous player. We were talking on a podcast 75 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
where he was
Yield.
talking about 2 checks and 1 checks and the fact that like 2 checks are there to bend the rules, 1 checks are there to break the rules of
It's a
your
great way to think of it.
conventional three
Yeah, yeah.
checks. And being able to change the number in the top left to bend or break the rule is just like a neat space that still lets people not feel bad
Yes.
for checking the one,
Right,
right? For running the casino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, so how do we increase the power of these cards, which is out without just sticking more and more powerful abilities on them? That was the question. And candidly, like, I, being as old in school and entrenched as I was, never would have considered changing the control.
Yeah.
Like, that was another idea that when you put it in front of me, I was like, this is going to break the game. This is going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a terrible idea. And then, a month into doing it, I was like, I want to play this 7 diff. Like, I want to play female Titan attacks
Yeah.
in my deck that doesn't have a high difficulty gimmick in it. I just want to play this good card.
I have found a puncher a kick that I absolutely want to pick up out of my
Yes.
discard pile. It's worth it.
Yes,
It's
and
worth
and
it.
so slowly but surely, like, I stayed paranoid about this through so much of the development. I was like, what about all 4 check attacks? So of course we're trying a million of those. What about? And it was like, wait, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like, as long as number left big, number bottom can be bigger too.
Yeah.
Like, and you get to kind of warp the curve and create new deck archetypes. You get to open up all these cool new ideas where it's like, hey, 3-diff foundations ain't so bad in this deck, right?
Totally.
Like something
Totally.
that players had started reducing their budget in, like how many can I put in my deck? How many 3-diffs am I allowed to put in my deck if I'm playing normal 3-check attacks?
Chris Bromley has made fun of me for lowering my 3-diff count and increasing my 0-diff count.
Yes.
And with the introduction of 4 checks, it's now shifted
Shifting.
back in the other direction.
Yeah.
I'll play 10 threes and feel okay,
Yes.
which is unheard of.
Yeah,
Even back in the day.
Even out of the day, like you were the rule. I have like a funny. I wrote when I was still a player a general deck building guide that got passed around a lot in like the Facebooks and stuff like that. And I think it's still in some of the Discords like pinned.
It was part of your resume.
Yeah. And one of it was you can only play this many 3-diffs depending on your hand size. Like if you're a 7-hander, you could get away with like 8 to 10 of them. A 5-hander, you can play like 4 to 6 of them. Things like that. Like
Yeah.
different numbers, and I can't quite remember the exact numbers anymore. But in general, like you have a budget for those things. This new archetype warps that budget in such a cool way, and these decks have seen a little bit of competitive success, but they haven't seen a disproportionate amount of competitive success. So like they're not really warping competitive play. They're just warping deck building in a way that more options are available, and people are finally playing 7-diffs. People are playing 8-diffs. People are yamming Beast Titan attacks in all sorts of decks.
Are you surprised that Hanj 2, as a mostly 4-check deck, it's a hybrid,
Yes.
won Worlds?
A little bit. Like, I think the thing that surprised me the most is just I think my idea of what Hanj 2 was going to be competitively, which was a little more aggressive and using her ability to re-ready to take early advantage. Instead, it kind of warped into using her ability to pay the bills on these big things that generate, tall advantages in single turns over the course of a couple turns.
Yeah.
I was not surprised that Han Zoe did really well. They are an incredible character, but I was super surprised to see like a mix of 4 and 3s blended together to do really cool stuff. And like, I loved that deck. When I saw the deck list after the event, I was like, this is the coolest culmination of a bunch of ideas that I could have imagined. Like, I couldn't make a deck this cool if I tried.
Classic Kevin Broberg mad scientist deck.
It's awesome. And I think that is like a testament to like, hey, you don't even have to be all 4-check archetype deck, because I think that is like a little bit of an illusion that goes around right now.
Yeah, totally.
Like if I'm playing 4-checks, I should just play all 4-checks.
Yeah, I don't want to check a 3 on my 8 or 9 diff. That's crazy.
I love playing decks that get to cheat with higher attack counts because I'm playing a couple 4-check attacks, but most of my attack is 3-checks. I have that some people might have played at Card Slinging in Nationals, a Pumat Soul deck that plays 24 attacks because I'm playing 6, I think maybe even 7 4-check attacks in that deck to let me float my attack count up, so I'm not bricking as often on drawing an attack. I don't have as many turns where it's like, drew all gray, can't do anything this turn, build 3 pass. Like, 4-check decks let you do that, increase your consistency to see orange for decks where that's important and things like that. So, to me, it is largely one of the most successful experiments of the set. I think that there is some execution things that still, even now, can be improved upon. As with anything, like, you learn a lot from a concept once it gets out into the wild.
Yeah.
But, like, we wanted people to play higher difficulty attacks. We're trying, in My Hero, to print really powerful six diffs because we were scared to go higher because we were afraid players wouldn't engage with them.
Yeah.
And those got largely ignored. Like, Prominence Burn saw some play.
Sure.
But, like, people weren't really playing, like, Final Smash, which is the banger. And, like, even now, like, cards like Inevitable Clash sometimes find places in decks, but they...
1s or 2-ofs.
Yes.
It's not even the build around.
Some of those cards have really, really strong abilities.
Yeah.
And they just didn't really find the homes that we expected them to. Like, Hood does some cool stuff, but, like, Hood's got a banger 7 diff that no one's ever really sleeved up.
Yeah.
Like, it was a little, I don't want to say frustrating, but it was, like, eye-opening.
Yeah.
As designers, it's like, how do we get players to really engage with these at not just, like, a funsy, casual level? And this solution kind of came out of left field for me. And people are playing the attack, so I feel like it worked.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've stated online, I've said to you, 4-check Beast Titan is my favorite deck I've ever played in UniVersus. Literally
awesome.
ever. Literally ever. Mainly because I get to assemble the squad.
Yeah, you get to bring the boys.
Backups.
Yes.
You introduced a new card type. This is the first time a real card type has been added into the game since the inception of the game, outside of taking 2 card types and jamming them together.
Yes.
There are now pink cards in the game.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
So many big swings. Where did this come from? Like, why not just make them assets?
Yeah.
They could just be assets or more foundations.
So, and I guess that's a good starting point.
And also, we can transition, we're running a little long, transition into shift cards as well. Because for shift cards, we're all exclusively backups.
Yeah, so I'll try to abridge this a little bit. This is one part that could be talked about at length. But so there'll be a little bit of a bridging here.
If you like this video, let us know. We'll do an hour-long backup talk. I'll yap about, I promise.
Because this meets game design needs and wants and desires, but it also meets some business needs and wants and desires as a way to represent characters and IPs that aren't necessarily combatants or main characters, but you want them there. You want them featured. You want to acknowledge them in the world that you're building.
Yeah.
That is one of the business needs that backups meet. But that's not really why we did it. It's just something that is helped by the idea of backups. And so you mentioned assets. Why aren't they just assets? Something that has always been kind of frustrating about, especially assets in Modern, was what is an asset circa, I don't know, 2019 in our card game? Is it a person? Is it an item? Is it a location?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like,
it's a card you can't commit to pass a check.
Yes. We wanted to break off some of that identity. We wanted our assets to be things and backups to be people. And that let us do some interesting things with that sort of backup mechanic where it's like, hey, you can be Aaron and the boys. You can be Flock and the homies. Like whatever you want to do.
I'm not a homies with anybody Flock hangs out with. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Fair, but like,
But the Marlians, now those are my soldiers.
warriors. They like we wanted to be able to like kind of express that, but also backups do a thing that we can't get away with assets. So to deal with an asset, you need a card in your deck that says I deal with an asset. To deal with a backup, you just have to be playing the game like a normal human.
Rewarding you for attacking.
100%. It lets us be a little bolder with how the backups function. We can put a little bit more powerful things. We can let you go wide with them in a way that going wide with assets has often been problematic.
True.
Going wide with backups, your opponent can go, that's scary. I'm going to remove that guy from the equation. But you're like, cool, that didn't hit me in the face.
Yep.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
Like
my 3 stamina backup saved me 7 damage.
Yes. And
huge.
So it created both different sort of levels of interaction and decision making. It created a way to express characters from an IP that maybe aren't main characters. And it gave us a way to create mechanics that could be comfortably interacted with by players. I think a really good example of this is AOT3's extra turn, time walk.
Yes.
If that was on an asset after it shifted, which we'll get into in a second, your opponent would need an asset counter to deal with that. So anyone
loss would be very good.
Yeah,
you gotta play that one.
Already a good one.
Yeah.
Would have been mandatory.
Yes.
With a backup, every single person has a counter to this really insanely powerful effect.
Game warping, game winning, game breaking ability.
By just assembling your deck with some attacks in it. And it lets us take swings like that and put big abilities and let people go, how do I time walk twice?
It asks a big question, and it does something inside of the game that is a pivotal moment of, I imagine, we'll talk Star Trek for a second.
Yeah.
You get hit by the missile that you weren't sure of, and then the red alert pops off, and everybody's focused. As soon as that card hits the board, you have a game plan of what I have to do, and that's I have to deal with it.
The alarm is on.
The alarm is on. Red alert. There has to be something to happen here. Which is why I like them so much. It goes back to agency inside of our game. What am I doing? You get to make the choice, man. You can swing on me and win the game. But if you miss, if you don't finish your food, I'm gonna take an extra turn.
Yes.
And I'm Aaron.
Things are about to get really bad.
I might take an extra turn after this. I can sneak it out of the board, I promise.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very cool.
And, like fundamentally, it's just a cool way to represent a different sort of like your roles and your Aries. Like I would have loved to do backup versions of those cards where we could really express those characters in like a even more powerful way than we did, or cooler, more authentic ways. So I really, really like backups, and you can kind of see we really dipped our toes in the early parts of backups. And set 1 backups, they're not very good.
They're fine.
They're interesting. They're kind of high difficulty for some reason. Like we inched our way into the water, and by AOT3, you can see we started to find the edge of the pool. Like here's some backups that when they get out, it's not just the extra turn. Like when Kiyomi gets on the table, the alarm also still turns on.
Yes.
She is not a time warping magic godlike being like Ymir, but she's going to cause you problems if you don't deal with it.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of the things that we really wanted to get to with backups. We want to be able to put them out and your opponent go, can I afford not to deal with this?
Do you think that the community has, me excluded, given you the reception that they enjoy backups, they like backups? Do you think they're ignoring them, or?
I think this, this has changed over time, right? I think AOT1, they were like, they're there. Like, I'm not quite sure where this is going. The AOT3 reception, and I really, really watch a lot of the community stuff, and I watch a lot of community content, and I monitor groups, has been so largely positive. Not necessarily universally, but I actually don't know if I've seen content that's like down on the new backups. There's some people who are like, well, these are spicy, maybe a little too spicy.
Nine Titans is, when you look at the 4-diff and AOT1, a small Titan versus the 9 Titans resurrected, different 4-diff backups.
Yeah, different planets, and different understanding of the card type.
Yeah.
But the people are like, wait, backups have identity. I can go wide and Falling Titans people. I can just let them die and use them as fodder for Harness of Death. I can go tall, wide with a big political strife.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes want them in the board. I sometimes want them in my discard. I sometimes want to chew them through my board. They have a distinct game identity that no other card type has right now.
Yeah.
And they have a plan and a strategy and cards that support them. And people seem to really, really be embracing that now. And I think AOT3 does a really cool thing in going, here's the rest of this puzzle. Now you guys have fun. You see where the general picture is. Assemble the tools. Do a cool thing.
So we had, it's very easy to have a bunch of cool backups inside of Attack on Titan.
Yes.
We had 6 backups, 6 I believe, in Critical Role.
I feel like it's
either 5 or 6.
I thought it was more.
They're all party
Maybe
backups.
I can't remember, but it's
Either-
in that
either way.
ballpark. 6 to 8, something like that.
Is this a card type that you are looking to expand on and give more into the future?
Yeah.
Is it as relevant as Foundation, Action, Assets?
I think for what it's worth, when you say the example of all of them, Foundations and Attacks are our game at its heart.
Sure.
Foundations and Attacks are the A and B. You almost certainly have to have both of those things to play the game at a functional level.
Yeah.
The other parts are optional, but in that optional tier, yes, attacks, actions, assets, backups, all kind of equally important.
Okay.
You will see times where authenticity, Street Fighter, you don't have like a guy that jumps out from the top of the screen and punches Chun-Li when you're playing as Ryu.
Sure.
So maybe Ryu doesn't have a backup.
Marvel vs. Capcom, though.
Yeah.
Confirmed right here
Yes.
on this. Blink.
This
you better blink. Blink once or twice.
How many eyes?
Yeah, I'm not
Oh, yeah.
telling. I'll figure it out.
But, so there's going to be authenticity where you might not see backups. But there's also, situations where there's sets where it's like, you might not see assets because these characters are karate guys who just punch and kick.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
We try to be authentic to the worlds we're exploring. Backups won't necessarily always be authentic. So you're not going to necessarily see them all the time, but as far as future going forward, they're here to stay.
Okay. I dig it. What do you think? We're going to move on from Attack on Titan 1, and we are yapping, and I love it. I'm down.
Yes,
I'm down to stay as long as you want to. What's the biggest takeaway? You shelved Attack on Titan 1. You were in development of Attack on Titan 2. You moved on to Attack on Titan 3. From 1 to 2, and then from 1 and 2 to 3, what do you think was the biggest success that you went, this is the thing that I absolutely want to keep. This was incredible. And then what's the thing that was so close and I iterated on and made it even better from 1 all the way to 3?
I think for the first one, I don't know if there's a round super success, but for me, it's probably the 4 check. The goal was get people to play these difficult cards that they just weren't playing.
Sure.
And people are playing them.
Yeah.
And they're showing up in decks that are dedicated to playing them, and decks that just splash them, or decks that are just I would love a 2 of Beast Titan attacks because a bunch of my stuff is range.
Totally.
Those are all good use cases, and all things that just weren't happening before. So that would probably be the one that even from just set 1, we're we like this. This is doing the thing we want it to do, and it's doing it in a healthy way, and it's not warping the game or anything. It's really cool. I think the one that needed the most help to kind of dampen his identity, and not just from AOT, but also from Critical Role, was backups. Where I think the early picture of backups was really unclear. And because we were a little kind of figuring that picture out in the early sets, where it's we know what we wanted as the card type and the concept, but we didn't really know what was going to give backups identity as a card type.
Sure.
What is the key differences between assets and backups? What are the benefits, the pros, cons, the risks? We didn't just want it to feel like this is a poor man's asset, which is some of the criticisms we heard during set 1.
Sure.
You printed, small Titan or whatever next to VME. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Reasonable statement.
Totally.
I get it when you say it that way. But now I think by AOT3, we both, as a game design group, but also as players, the picture came clear kind of almost simultaneously as we kind of developed it. This is what we want from these.
Are there more 4 checks coming in the future?
4 check attacks.
4 check attacks. I want a hard yes, no.
Yes.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
I don't think that's something we're going to wait for. I don't, again, authenticity. Like, there's going to be characters who don't do the big swing. And that's okay.
Nobody in Critical Role had it.
Yeah.
Nope. So
Um,
it really felt like a
yeah.
AOT exclusive. But
Yes.
I think that there are a lot of people that like the four check attacks. So the fact that they are
Yes.
not just locked to AOT, I
Yes.
think is a big, huge deal for
And-
some people in the room.
Yes. And what you will see is it's going to take time for that to play out because we designed so far ahead
Yeah.
that here's all of this mountain of four-check attacks. Let's see how it does in the pool. We like what it did in the pool now that we're here. So you're going to see more of it. But there's probably going to be some gaps or slowness to them sort of coming back into view.
Okay. Let's move on to, I think, the hot button topic of AOT 3.
Okay.
I'm going to put your feet on the coals a little bit. Previously, in past generations of UVS, the infinity symbol has been reserved for some very specific small niche cases.
Yeah.
Things like Plus Ultra.
Yeah.
You're afraid that attacks were too fast. I wanted a way to end the game. All of Class A can play it. Very powerful card. Really designated to the sideboard. Didn't see a ton of mainboard play and a lot of different ideas. I want to say somebody did the math and there's like 60% of all infinity cards have been printed in the last 4 sets.
Yeah.
What is the design philosophy behind, if attuned is so cool, if resource symbols are so cool, why are you letting everybody play everything?
Sure. This one's interesting. And so this is kind of, I'm going to try not to super yap about this because this one gets a little deep into the game design bill. We like the idea of that there's some cards here that are kind of setting baseline access to all of the key mechanics of the game. And so, like, we have an infinity card that's like commit for a couple of damage. And fire could probably do that sort of ability a little bit better. But everybody, every character should have access to ways to put a little damage on their attacks. Not every character has stats on their face.
Sure.
They have to find pathways to win the game. Every character, for consistency in a game that can be inconsistent with our checking system, needs a little bit of card, needs a little bit of speed reduction. Needs some spams that do a thing. And one of the ways we can give those to all the symbols without having to necessarily eat up a bunch of design space and making an adjacent but similar card across 12 symbols is just put affinity on it. Like, hey, here's a damage pump that you can all grab and equally use. It comes at a base rate, not a premium rate.
Yeah.
But you have access to these tools that are sometimes essential. And there's symbols that genuinely kind of hurt for some of these tools sometimes. And that sort of disproportion is hard to rapidly adjust to. It requires a lot of planning in like design. And sometimes some symbols just kind of don't get the tools they need. And because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't always know what tools symbols are going to need. If those tools are always readily available for everybody, then we don't need a crystal ball. They're there. We've talked about it a lot, and I've heard this a million times. Every symbol should have a reset. So we made every symbol get a reset, but we don't want every symbol to have 12 quality resets.
Totally.
And that's the other catch of Infinity. We can really control the flow of these abilities to like the more powerful but should be broadly accessible abilities by putting Infinity on them and going, all right, we don't have to wait for a 3-symbol character to play all 12 of the versions of it they have access to or 16 versions of it. Here's this one.
Imagine Midoriya.
Yeah,
that guy,
Midoriya and his
foundation
25 resets.
Those
yes.
every attack is normal.
Yes.
For sure that's normal.
And there's a lot of like part of the AOT thing was we made a bunch of attacks that get real tall.
Yeah.
They get real tall. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that wishes we were brave enough to put Moment Normalcy in the first set. Because maybe then, things would have played out a little different in the metagame and things like that. But we weren't ready for that commit just yet to like infinity cards the way we ended up committed to them. And yeah, that there is more layers to that onion, and infinity will continue to get used to kind of spread these base value tools. And the symbols that are better at those things will get premium versions of that card. Sure. We have like I love pointing to the example of we have that Infinity 2/5, I think it's a first enhanced flip draw card.
Yep.
A lot of symbols have a 1/5 that asks you to hop through a gate related to their symbol to draw a card. Like Void has treasure hunting, not plundering. And
Correct.
yes,
Not plundering.
fearsome transformations, chaos identity card that wants you to have momentum. Void wants your opponent to mill some cards. Like those are the premium versions of that ability. But I was building an Order Tarion, and I was like, I think I need this 2/5 flip to draw a card because Order didn't really have one that he had a good line to access. So it was really nice, and that card unironically just went in my deck because I needed that thing, and but I didn't have to create 12 of them.
Yeah.
Meaning that somebody could have access to 12 different 2/5 draws at a rate.
I think that that's fair, and it also goes back to my previous point. Cards are incredible in draft.
Yeah.
To make consistency, draft seal.
They help access
feel
a ton
much
in
better.
cards.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything AOT wise that you think that I've or the community have missed asking you? Is there anything that you want to yap about before we take a very quick dive into more organized play type things?
Sure. I don't have like a super expressive thing. Like I think honestly, AOT, for better or for worse, is likely our most talked about set of sets of all time.
Yeah.
Probably ever.
You took big swings.
Yes.
It is a beautiful conversation piece.
Yeah, and execution varied. Learnings were super valuable, and this is the thing. Like, there's a lot even in AOT3 where we're taking a swing, and we want it to pan out. We try our best to pan out the way we want. If it doesn't, we'll do something about it. But we'll also learn something.
Yeah.
Like every single time we have to errata a card, we learn something. Every single time. Those don't just like, all right, let's go ahead and walk into the same mistake again.
Oops.
Like, we understand, like, okay, here's what we did wrong here. I have, this is almost like too personal. I have a notepad of every card I think I screwed up. And I have an explanation of why I think I screwed that up. And sometimes it's just like, this card is hard to understand. Like, it doesn't read the way that I wanted it to for players to understand it. Sometimes it's like, this card was way too good, younger Toguro. And sometimes it was
I don't know. I think that deck is totally beatable. You just got Asui.
It's got a block.
Yeah, it's got a
Asui
block.
or Jin.
Yeah.
That's it. But like, we are always learning from our mistakes. Recently we banned vertical maneuvering equipment, and that sucked for us. It is a staple piece of the Attack on Titan world. We didn't want to have to do that thing.
Yes.
But we care more about your play experience than like our love of this one really thematic card. It makes you go fast, change zones, and dodge Titan swings, and we thought it was so cool and thematic, and we pushed it a little too hard.
3's a big number.
3's a big number.
3's a big number.
Or 3 is a fine number that doesn't change zones all the time. Maybe it only changes zones on offense. But we messed it up. And we learned something from that card very explicitly. Like, this is a rate that is just a little too unacceptable.
Yeah.
So next time we do a card, we know where that acceptable line is.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk bans and erratas. I
Yes.
think bans and erratas are healthy in every game. Obviously, my best friend Skylar, shoutouts, says that I play acoustic video games for a living, and bans and erratas are patches. You are patching the game.
Yes.
You are making the game better.
Yes.
New sets are also patches, but bans and erratas
They're
are
more
patches.
they're DLC.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Updates.
Yeah.
Patching I think is important and it's very hard to do, and it is a tough cookie to swallow because whenever you patch our game with a ban and an errata, I have to manually, acoustically take these cards in and out of my deck.
Yes.
Whereas on other digital online card games, they press the button and I'll never have to touch it ever again. They did it for me. What is the thought process behind the B&E? And obviously, there's always this idea of a watch list. One of the big questions that I got from a ton of people is, can we ever know what's on the watch list?
Yes.
That is a massive question that comes over.
Came up
over
this
and
weekend,
over.
too.
Yeah. Hey, what are you looking at, guys? Are
Yes.
you even looking?
Yeah.
I'm sure the answer is yes. But how much behind the scenes can you give us on these ideas?
Sure. I feel pretty comfortable talking about this because I think it's something that deserves a little more transparency.
Sure.
But also, I think that there's parts of the transparency there that are a little overlooked too. Like there's things about it that we are straightforward with that I think sometimes people just kind of think are buzzwords. So candidly, like we are always evaluating everything, but cards that the community has their eyes on, we have our eyes on too. Because the community is the one playing our game. Like if you guys are watching it, we're also watching it.
Yeah.
We don't always necessarily see eye to eye, but we're watching it. We have these pillars for our action where we don't want to do like fully emotional based actions. We don't want to be like, ugh, like this card is just gross to sit across from because someone else is, we don't want to yuck someone's yum. Like other people, there's some people who just really love Mineta too, and bless them for it. Uh, like there is a lot of sort of nuance to those sort of emotional conversations.
Yeah.
So we try to look at some measurable statistics, but one of those measurable statistics takes emotion into account.
Totally.
We'll start with that. Play experience is important to us. Largely, a lot of our more recent actions were more play experience based than results based. Like, Immortal Shapeshifter was much more a play experience ban than it was a power level ban. It was really, really, really frustrating to sit in front of somebody who had 2 or 3 of them out, along with some of the combo pieces in particular, and go, I can't really play the game.
I remember coming up to you while you were gunslinging at Nats, and I played Ymir, and it was maybe the saltiest I've ever been at the game.
Yes.
I had 7 attacks in my hand versus Corey Nelson, second place recovery girl.
Yes.
I had half health, he had half health, 7 attacks as Ymir flipped, and I went, I won't kill you.
Yes. We're not getting there.
That is not. I scooped with 7 attacks. I went, you got it, man. That is an unfun spot for me to be in.
Really rough.
And he went home and went,
just like that too.
And it was, he had a blast.
Yes,
That's exactly how he wanted to play the game.
100%.
I get that, but I want to play the game.
Yes. And so this is the tricky part of play experience, right? Like to a sense is subjective. And card games can be like, hey, I'm doing the fun thing, you are sitting across from the fun thing. That is a little unavoidable.
Yeah.
But there is like things that are especially time consuming or like very prisony or way too fast that kind of deny real play experiences. Those are ones that really stand out.
My David had a really apt way to describe it on commentary today of blah blah blah. I expected this deck to drag its opponent out to the deep depths of the water and just drown them slowly. And I was like, whoa, that's a really visceral image.
Yes,
and Rodan has done that to me.
Yes.
Plenty of times.
Rodan flies you over the ocean and just drops you in.
Yeah, for sure.
He has done it a few times.
Yeah.
That is a big one. But then the other ones are much more measurable. And we don't pick just one. Like, cards can be affecting on multiple axes, and maybe they're only, on a imaginary 1 to 10 scale, maybe it's like a 5 concern out of 10 for play experience, but it's also like really popular. Like everybody's playing this miserable deck to sit across from.
Yeah.
That's a tough combination for our competitive play scene. So popularity's another metric. If there is a card, and I think the most famous ban for this is Back Alley Haymaker. Back Alley Haymaker was a high performing competitive card, but not necessarily like game defining. And it wasn't necessarily the flashiest card. It wasn't necessarily, usually it wasn't killing your opponent.
Yeah.
It was doing a bunch of useful, very efficient things.
Yes.
But something we saw in our data sets for the months leading up to Haymaker getting the ban is Haymaker was putting up usage numbers that were unheard of for a tech. So usually usage numbers are dominated by foundations that are like 4-ofs in most decks, your 0 diffs or things. Do you want to guess like what was the most used card over, I think, all of last year?
Basic training?
No, Fearsome Transformations.
Oh.
Chaos has been popular.
Yeah, it is.
So like, and usually that top 5 or 10 is all foundations.
Yeah.
Back Alley Haymaker was just one. It was just ahead of, it was not just beating the other attacks in representation.
Yeah.
It was jumping over the foundations. That means that everyone felt like they needed to build Haymaker decks. This hurts diversity in a way that's less clear than characters a bunch of characters. Like, it's very easy to go, oh, there's 5 Kirishimas in this top cuts. We have a problem.
Yes.
It's a little bit tougher to go, there was 8 characters in this top cuts, but 7 of them are using Haymaker. It's a little more subtle. Yes.
Yeah.
So popularity of a card, both a character or a specific card, outside of like, we expect people to play their 0 diff spams. Like, them being popular is expected. When attacks in particular outperform those numbers, or like a core of foundations outperforming those numbers, that's when we have to look really hard. It's one of the easier but also tougher metrics to measure. And Back Alley was the poster child for this. We have, before or after, have never seen a card represented like that. Like, people are like, Hard and Jab was everywhere. Hard and Jab was the top attack played and never even broke the foundations list usually.
Love that.
So that is popularity. Lastly, performance. This one is the one that everybody understands for the most part, but I think people misuse. Just because a deck does well doesn't mean we should ban the deck. There's going to be good decks. But
somebody has to win the tournament.
Yes. And some decks are just going to be good. Like, there's going to be characters who are usually built to be authentic to their style of what they do. Rodan is the fastest monster in the Godzilla universe. Like, they get to fly around at literal supersonic speeds and dive bomb people, and also use wind to slow approaching enemies and things like that. So Rodan gets a speed mechanic. Speed mechanics are really strong.
Very good. 3 is a big number.
3 is a big number.
Yeah.
Fair. But like, some characters in their thematics end up with powerful packages. That's okay. Characters are allowed to be good and be consistently successful. The problem is we don't really want them to feel like you have to play this character to really have a chance at an event. That sucks. You want to be able to bring a variety of tools to a competitive event and feel like you have a chance to win it all. When you feel like you are handicapping yourself severely because of a specific character, then something is probably off.
Do you think specific cards fall into that realm as well? My example is, and obviously we have no current data as we've played no events. I predict next format, if you do not have a game plan for unyielding destruction, you will lose. You will not win a match in AOT format. I think the first event, if your deck can't survive on 4 foundations, you got to figure something else out.
Okay. Yeah, I that would certainly be something that is in the realm of like the same sort of thing where it's like this card, it's kind of a mix of the Haymaker and performance thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like if we see that Unyielding Destruction is super popular and also super successful, then we have a problem. Like there is a lot of ways to kind of view performance as a metric, but and we'll be talking about it a little bit later. Like, a lot of times our players anoint the best deck in the room, and it hasn't necessarily done best deck stuff. Nick is kind of a current example.
Yeah.
As most players going into the event, Nick's the best deck in the room. And our players are pretty smart. They might be right. But Nick hasn't necessarily gotten to the point where he's proven he's the best.
Yeah. It's got big Jiro syndrome.
Yes.
A lot of always the bridesmaid.
Here's the thing.
Very the bride.
Only been a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time to prove it. And when he does, if he's doing so at a problematic rate, we'll do something. Because that is a metric that we choose to be consistent about. And he talked about, like, I'm so jealous of digital games, being able to patch live. We want to provide a meta that you guys think is cool and fun and engaging. There's a reason why, as a company, as a whole, as policy, we are active on bans and erratas. Because we don't think it's, like, a good excuse to just say, let the players, solve it. Give them a little bit. There'll be stuff. Like, that is sometimes true. And especially when you look at that performance metric, it's like, are we super worried about this character that, like, kind of does a frustrating thing, but never makes top cuts? It's hard to be that worried about that deck. And those decks usually will fall in popularity to where even the play experience thing's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
But everything needs a chance to prove it.
Totally.
And that is something that can be tough, because soon as something is anointed the best deck, the next question is, what are they going to do about it?
Yeah.
And it's like, we are thinking about that, but we got to let it breathe. We got to see if when something has the target on its back, it's still the best deck in the room.
Totally. I mean, it's there's so much misrepresentation of like what the community thinks is going to be a crazy good card. Current example, Unyielding Destruction. I'm going
Yeah.
crazy over this card.
Right.
Teamwork in a previous
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
I thought the card was going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Zero play. Going back even further,
I-
Gateway Shuffle.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a meltdown about Gateway Shuffle when that card came out in Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
The card saw middling
I saw.
play. It was okay, but it didn't break the game like
Yeah.
so many Facebook
Well,
posts said.
and also the meta moves, right?
Yeah.
I always think this example is very funny, and part of it is cards shifted out of the meta, but they didn't all just disappear. Uh, the community coined repeated $100 smash for a while. That card's still legal.
Yep.
Doesn't see a ton of play because the meta moved in a way that wasn't necessarily ideal for it, but also players got pretty well equipped to deal with those types of decks when it's still before all those punches went. Like
Yeah.
it was still around and it was losing competitive play representation and losing value. And like another thing is like, and this is a funny example. There's a couple of examples of this, and I don't want to survey like all the players, but I remember when we previewed Deku 4, and the people who lived through characters similar to that character, Jackie Briggs, were like traumatized into being like, this character's gonna get banned in 2 months. I saw that comment a lot of times. This character's a fringe competitive character.
Yeah.
A good character who has made some events. I think made the top cuts at the Nationals.
I think so.
But isn't the demon that initial card evaluation said. Other times people looked at a thing and went, hey, this thing is probably messed up. And then like 2 events later, that thing was messed up, Mikasa. So like,
Yeah.
like, and you know, we knew there was a chance that that could happen, and we didn't necessarily get there. And one thing people do, like, I think people understand this, but it's worth saying, uh, our couple thousand players are going to find better decks than we're probably going to get to in playtest. I'd love to say that we're going to find every deck. It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
We try multiple versions of every single character and every single card that we print. But, like, you know, we're not always going to figure out that, like, we should be playing the 2-check that free builds foundations in the Mikasa deck, because then it just lets us have 12 foundations on turn 2. We might have missed that one.
Yeah.
So,
That's tough. Let's talk events then.
yes.
On the docket, I've got Denver, and then the EU event, and then now the top 8 that we have here in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Top 8 in Denver, first Critical Role set. If you can remember back, I know that it's tough for you because this was 2 months ago, and you are designing and playtesting cards years in the future. So you
very,
are
very literally.
you are working
years
here.
ahead.
I'm asking you about not here presently, but a little back.
Yes.
What are your thoughts going into what coming out of Attack on Titan 2 into Critical Role? That's the format that we exist. Champ cards.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the format that we exist with Denver. What are your expectations as the design team when you go, okay, they finally have their hands on the cards.
Yeah.
I expect XYZ thing. Do you have any plans of like what what am I expecting? Do my things match up? Do you just let
Yeah.
them go wild? Whatever they do is what they do, and then I'll compare notes afterwards. Like
Yeah.
what's the thought process when you are evaluating what happens at an event?
So it's funny because we were looking into that crystal ball 12 months before Denver, right?
Yeah.
And that's true of like every event.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what do we think the meta is going to look like 12 months after we drop critical? Like, who are the best characters in there? And I don't want to pass in the back. We are close, but there's also stuff we missed. Like, we probably, like, I'll be specific. Like, going to Denver, I had high stocks in Tarion. I was a Tarion gamer in playtest. It was one of the characters I spent the most time with because I felt he was very, very powerful and also kind of a dangerous archetype.
Yeah.
And by the end, I think that he ended up in like a really polished, powerful spot. So when Tarion did well, I was like, socks, still high. Uh, but I also was really high in Grog. And I was actually surprised that Grog didn't think. But then I thought about kind of where the meta had landed, where a lot of people could go really tall on their attacks. Your Deviljins, your Yimmers, and your Nick Reagans. can go really tall, and he doesn't love that. He's
No.
not a great blocking character.
Not like
So it made,
-2 is not -3.
No.
3 is a big number.
and we expected Grog to be a little better because we had predicted characters like Pony and cards like Teaming with the Attack Titan to be really relevant meta contenders 12 months ago.
Sure.
Like, Teaming with the Attack Titan is a funny one because it's kind of had a slow adoption. And that one surprised us too, because we were like, out the gate, everyone's going to be yamming 4 of these. And then they were like a $3 ultra rare for a little while. And we're like, no one likes it.
What
Wait,
happened?
we were yamming this in all sorts of stuff in testing. And now it's starting, you're seeing it in more and more decks. Like, Devil Jin's super popularized it, but there's a lot of decks playing it now.
It was one of the main
Yeah.
reasons that I took ranged Titan Ymir to nationals.
Yes,
It
yeah.
was like, I'll put this on at the end. It's a 5 diff. I'll give it 17 damage. It's
Yes.
Ymir.
Ouch.
Okay. Here's another.
So it's always like a tricky game. And going into Denver specifically, we were like, I think the champ cards are going to have a big splash because they're exciting. They're doing cool stuff. And the people playing them are going to be good players. Nick and Mitch, we're pretty confident they're going to be playing their card at the first event they can play their card.
Yeah.
Hey, they won those cards for a reason.
Right.
They're pretty good at this. And then also, those players have friends and teams who are also going to play those decks with them. So we weren't surprised to see those decks both well represented and successful. And yeah, like, I think I wouldn't say it go exactly as we would have expected, but our crystal ball wasn't so bad. And I think one of the bigger takeaways from it was, hey, what is Critical Role and stuff doing to game speed? How fast people are dying, how fast people are killing. We've got a few really, really powerful offensive engines in the format, and that's something we're looking at. Like Devil Jin, Yimmer, Nick are all premier offensive engines. And to beat them, you have to be playing a pretty premier defensive engine. That can get a little polarizing. So those are decks that we are looking at and expected to see put up results in these things. And even Devil Jin was a little bit of a slow goer, and then people figured out it was really good against Nick.
Yeah.
And then it was a problem.
Yeah.
And here we are. But, Devil Jin had a good day today.
Yeah. He made Duck
yeah.
Passed an errata.
Passing around. So turns out that high-powered premier offense is still enough to propel that character to success. And that's cool. Like, I'm happy to see it.
I want to talk about the crystal ball.
Yeah.
Because we're talking crystal ball stuff. You're working months and months, years and years, 7 years in the future. I'm sure you've already got it all done. How does things like, this was the last event, Denver's last event with Firepower and Shapeshifter.
Yes.
How does that change the upcoming playtest of things that could potentially already be done imagine Firepower being gone before Critical Role.
Yes.
Feels like Percy and Vax kind of been dead in the water as they have fallen out of massive popularity. Now they don't have this free action to play.
Right.
All the playtesting was done with that. If it was gone before, the exciting part of the character that you knew was in the meta, Crystal Ball is wrong. It's just wrong because of what's happening in the now.
And this is one of the hardest things to contend with extending development lines, where it's like, hey, when we patch things with ban and errata, it means that some of our testing is going to be off, and some characters are going to be missing a tool that we tested them with. This is just kind of a pain point of being kind of far out on development. Okay. And it's also part of, though, why we're willing to be so active with ban and errata. When you're developing on a long timeline, and you're trying to work from your idea of what this game is going to look like at a competitive level, at the sharpest, best players playing the best decks. Like, these are sharpened tools meant to win games, not necessarily be fun or have fun always, even. Like, they can be, but they're not always. Like, what does that look like? And how do we build tools for it? And how do we figure out how to do it 16 months before it actually happens? And the best,
not an envious position for sure.
And the best thing to do is just fix it. Like, just errata something, ban something. We're gonna miss sometimes. We are, as a game, we take swings at design. We want to make exciting stuff. We want to make stuff you look at and you go, holy crap.
Our game is complex.
Yes.
It's very easy to have one small thing fall to the cracks.
Yes.
You put it out into public and then went, oops.
Yes. And, we've certainly had our oops moments. And we will always do our best to fix those moments. I know this is running long, and I'll tell the bridge version of the story, but when we in AOT 1, we took pretty quick action on Reiner 1, who is still a character doing things,
Yeah.
by the way. Another errated character who's still having competitive success. Had some today. Um, when we had to take action on Reiner, a light bulb turned on in our head. Our playtest meta was very different from the meta that Reiner entered into the game into. And a lot of our playtest meta was really actively trying to deny character transformations of AOT1, which were all based on foundation count. So they had a lot more debuild and a lot more things like that. And as soon as we took action on Reiner, I went, all right, well, everyone go ahead and put a spotlight on Berthold 2 during AOT2 because we tested him in that same bubble where it was a lot harder for him to transform.
Wow. Well, I did not even put together the fact that like the check to the monster of Bert 2 was just Reiner 1 because his knees got cut out. He
And
got to flourish.
and also
Wow.
and our playtest meta was debuild heavy even outside of Reiner. Chomp was like a super popular card in our playtest. Chomp is a good card. It sees some competitive play. But our playtest was like, hey, you're playing a deck without 4 Chomps. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
You're just gonna let Ymir transform on you? What do you mean? Like, just don't let her do it. Like, that's crazy. And that wasn't what the players found. And the players build the meta. I don't think the players are wrong. I think
Yeah.
that we just didn't get to where they evolved to, where it's like we're going past Chomp and we're killing each other.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to worry about stopping them from transforming. We're going to get them before they transform.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the meta evolved. And so right away with Berthold, I was like, not only is a natural predator being kind of kneecapped a little bit, but also the meta just isn't shaped the way that we kind of tried to crystal ball. And so like there's a good chance Berthold 2 is going to present some problems.
And it didn't happen.
And
They were
it was
wrong
crazy.
a
And he
second
was
time.
perfect.
He was totally chill.
He just hung out.
Fine.
He's
He's 5-hander. What are these guys gonna do?
What is he ever gonna do?
Let's talk UK. Mike Hardiman wins with Ymir. We had a couple
Yes.
cards banned. Devil Jin doesn't show up at Denver at all.
Yes.
Gets second place and truthfully got a. I love you, Mike. Got a little sacked by Mike. There was some bad checks over on Devil Jin's side.
I'll say nothing.
They were
Mike Hardiman is the UK GOAT.
bit of a crazy game in that final match as somebody who got to cast it.
It's like 7 pieces of cardboard for Hardiman. There's no luck in Hardiman's world, only skill.
Devil Jin survived an errata for one event outside of, shameless plug, it was a webcam event, a
Yes.
community webcam event that took place, as well as the Boar's Hat 2
Yep,
case that
they had
I
a
got to
case
be part
event.
of. It also felt like, so here's the question. How much do large community-driven events influence your guys' data? After the last Boar's Hat case tournament,
Yeah.
without an event, Reiner and Mikasa both got touched.
Yes.
And like it really felt like that was almost like I could point the line. That's not a regional. That's not
Right.
that's not nothing. We had 40 very good players in that room, all slamming cards. That's not the
Yeah.
90 that we have today.
Yeah.
How much weight do these large community events, how much weight do locals have on
Yes.
store scrambles and championships, non-regional events? What do they do to your guys' opinions?
Yeah. So let's be blunt about it. We are not a huge game. We are still a relatively small game in the scope of a huge game. We don't have an online client that registers thousands of games a day. We have our those events, community run events and locals are a glut of data that are really valuable to us. Like now assuming, they're format relevant with like no weird house rules. They are a standard event with real prizes and real things, and they are as valid as any event that we run for things that we could look at. I think it's super important that we are looking at that data, especially local data, because it tells us different things. Local data is not like competitive data. Local data is like, hey, this guy just keeps beating all of us with Deku, Challenger deck Deku, and like we don't know what to do. And it's like, that's real feedback. I'm not making fun of those people. That's like probably a play group, like a smaller play group, and they've got one guy who's really mastered a deck that plays a weird way. How do we help them figure out how to solve those sorts of problems? And like, but also, hey, why is every local have 5 of Godzilla in them or whatever? Like, those are all things that are data points that we don't really see in competitive because it's a different sort of world. That's all really valuable to us. And we try to take it all into account. And yeah, stuff like Boris hats, like big community run events, are valuable data points that we look at. And, things like Mikasa and Reiner, and this is something, people look at them like they weren't a results based action. They were a play experience based action. People were sitting across from those characters and just having a really bad time. And a lot of that data was local level data. We had stores coming to us and being like, hey, Reiner specifically got a lot of negative feedback from local play groups that came through the pipeline, came to us, and we're like, yeah, we get it.
We were doing spotlight tournaments
Yeah,
at our store. We banned Reiner.
yeah.
Banned
It
him.
totally makes sense.
You don't get to play. He
Yes.
got to survive a singular round, and then I looked at the TO and I went, "This isn't acceptable.
Yeah,
Nobody gets to play the game."
and like that's super super relevant, and it's also execution. Like we missed on Reiner, the original version of Reiner. Like we let him get to a point where even outside of the specific circumstance of like his competitive potential impact, he was just not a fun deck to sit across from at any level of play. Even a very casual, not refined Reiner deck sucked to play against most of the time.
Yeah.
And like that's a miss on us. Like we learned a lot from the kind of play loop that he creates, where it's like he's trying not to interact at any level. He's rushing to foundations. He does not care what you are doing. He's rushing to his transform, and then he's going to debuild you, and then he's going to start playing the game. And he doesn't care about anything you're doing on your side of the board. That was is a bad play experience all around, and something we probably should have caught, but we missed it and we learned. We go, okay, like this sort of game plan where you get rewarded for ignoring your opponent by like building or whatever has to be really carefully crafted to not be a horrible experience and a low interaction experience. That was the big thing with Reiner.
I love it.
Hey.
Last topic.
Okay,
Albuquerque. We're here.
we are.
Obviously this is filmed before top 8 resolves tomorrow.
Yes.
Nick Reagan's in the room.
Yes.
There are 3 of them in Top Cut. The other 5
Yes.
characters are all unique with, off the top, Godzilla, Rodan, Reiner 2. That's a weird one.
Is it 2 or 1?
It is 2.
Okay.
It is Transforming Reiner.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I believe it's Cameron Caldwell on that.
Okay.
99.9% positive. I said Rodan, there's a Devil Jin, there's a Ghidorah.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them. I think that's my 5. If I missed one, my apologies. Coming into this event, are there any standout characters to you from that top 8 that exist?
I mean, Nick Sav's one. There's 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Like that is another good performance from a character that's put up a couple good performances. Credit to, I think it's Let's Talk.
Let's talk UVS.
Let's Talk to UVS. Brewed up a deck that is doing things that I have not seen Nick doing in my previous experiences playing against the character.
Yeah.
I'm still engaged at a local level and playing with my friends, and we have Nick decks floating around, and I haven't seen anything like this.
That ain't it.
And this deck is having a ton of success.
Ton of fun.
If you haven't seen it, it was on stream. Yeah.
It was on stream. High highs, low lows. We
Gotcha.
had 2 Nicks that kind of
Yes.
tripped and fell. We had 1 Nick that just tore through in 13
Yeah,
minutes.
I think that was poor Wub. Yeah.
Poor Wub.
Yeah, Wub got eviscerated. That deck is something certainly that we're going to just look at and just be like, all right, what is this doing? Is this thing doing a healthy thing? But I do think like 6 unique characters out of 8 slots.
Yeah.
Is still a pretty good spot. It doesn't set off any alarms as far as that sort of thing. I don't know the cards in all these decks yet. I
Sure.
don't have the deck list.
Yeah.
So I can't like flag like, man, it sure is weird that they're all insert card here decks or whatever. But
I think the big takeaway that I have from this is there's no Critical Role in at the tops at all, which is a little rough for it being the most recent set.
yes,
I'm sure there's plenty of Critical Role cards. but
yes, they are certainly
I'm-
critical cards.
I'm sure IP holders like to have representation inside their game if they pay attention even a little bit. Like, it's kind of tough when, hey, you can have our thing.
I think the fans of the IP are probably
That's
more
probably
impacted.
more
than-
active. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know personally I want Critical Role cards. Big
I do
Critical
too.
Role fan. I
I,
think that
I
was
am
dope.
a Mighty Nine enjoyer to
Yes.
the extreme. I season 1, season 2. I liked season 1 a lot. Uh, Mighty Nine really resonated with me. So I desperately want to see my sweet muffins from Mighty Nine doing well in these things.
Yes. Yeah. I think that like I will say that the outside of I'm pretty sure outside of Tarion was in Denver. My memory is atrocious when it comes to
I think
this.
Tyrion was the only one who topped and done. There's like 2 or 3 of them.
I
But
think that like I don't remember Ghidorah topping in Denver. I think Godzilla was like ninth
yes,
uh,
Godzilla's kind of been on the bubble for a
a
while
bit
now.
and finally broke back
Yes.
through. Devil Jin made it back in to
Yes.
I think in like seventh place or
Close to
so. Um, is this the snapshot that you expected now with this third format under our belt? Is there anything that like really surprised you with Nick did not do very well in UK, did
Yes.
great in Denver, is showing success here
Yeah.
inside to getting in a top 8.
Uh, I don't want to say this is like a
Where's Ymir?
yeah.
Where's
Like
Ymir?
so, there's characters where you like. I think there's, and this is the kind of thing about our game. There's probably 5 more characters you can list where it's like kind of surprising not to see them there. Like, where's your pony? Where's your Ymir? Where's
Beast Titan.
where?
Sorry,
Yeah.
that was me.
Um, and you know, Hanzoi won Worlds.
Yeah. That exact list is almost that exact list is very legal.
Yes. Like you can look at a lot of characters who you could justify, and I walk the top tables a lot. There's Dark Deku's up there. There was a Hanzoi up there. You know, top 8 is tough. Only a few decks are gonna make it. A bunch of good decks when you get down to the top 16. I'm pretty confident there's a Tarion in top 16. I'm pretty confident there was probably Hanzoi, and maybe in top 16. I don't know quite where they finished. I didn't catch the last round. But when you zoom out to the top 16, I know top 8 is all that matters because that's the elimination round.
That's what we get to stream.
But
right?
to us, from the design team, top 16 matters a lot too. Top 32 matters a lot when the event's big enough. That means that those decks making those slots are still doing competitive, fringe competitive, relevant things in the game.
better than evil.
Yes. And
right?
we have seen a fair number of critical role characters floating in that space.
Mhm.
We'd love to see them get a little further.
Sure.
But it's also, how do I put this? A lot of the decks that we're seeing succeed today are fairly known quantities. Ghidorah, Rodan, Godzilla, they've been doing it for a while. Devil Jin has a really proven deck list that has been, Devil Jin had action taken on before. He's been legal for 4 months, 6 months. I don't even
Very
know how
long time.
He's been legal for a long time. People have been polishing, getting new tools, polishing. I think that there's critical roles who will polish and get new tools, and the meta will change. And I think we should see more. But it is one of the absolute most difficult things to predict whether a character is going to show up in competitive play or not. There's characters that I so strongly believe in that see little to no representation.
Go on.
I mean, I
Tell the good people they need to go play at the next regional. Jeremy.
I don't want to guide them, and I'm not a competitive player anymore, so I could be dead wrong. But I play against competitive players, and I have success with characters like this. Sam Rutherford, Dev Run Racer, ability to shut down opponents' cards, attacks. You want to play a true one? You want to play Nick Reagan and the Sam? Copy a card and the enhanced step.
Whoops.
Yeah, sorry about that true 100 you just ripped, or that death from above. You don't get to do all that.
Yeah.
And I think with the addition of Critical Role, he got a bunch of cool tools. I'm a Grog believer still. I think that the meta still presents problems for him. I think he can solve those problems. I think that the tools are there, but he is not, as funny as he is simple, brute, hit hard, he's not an easy deck. You have to dedicate resources to getting your attacks through, leveraging your card advantage, and playing defense against things that are kind of hard for his abilities to compensate for. Sam's probably one of my favorite ones to play into some of the competitive meta right now because he really does answer a lot of questions. I could go on. I really like a lot of characters. Going back to the challenger deck critical role characters, I think basically all of them are viable, at least as a fringe competitive character. Uh, like particularly Jester and not, but like Vax and Vex are, especially Vex with new tools from Critical Role,
Yeah.
does really interesting things. So I think there's a chance these decks will polish and find homes. If they don't, it's possible. I remember during Dark Tournament preview season, where basically every character was kind of like, this character is nuts. Like 3 of them see competitive play.
Yeah.
Um, only so many are going to make the cut. And that's part of competitive play. But I do think it's worth looking deeper than just the guys you see in the elimination rounds to see who's having success. There's a Tarian in top 16. I'm fairly confident. There is, I think that we saw a not bubble. I don't know if it was at Denver.
I think it was Denver.
But like, there's characters there.
Yeah.
And those decks are first drafts, second draft, rough drafts. They will be polished. These people aren't going to make it to every event. I believe in a few of the Critical Role characters from a competitive standpoint.
So go be that person. So go
Do
do
it.
it. So with that, Jeremy, thank you so much, man.
My pleasure.
It's incredible. Everybody at home, if you liked this content and you want more, you have to make it happen. Share the video, like the video, engage with the video. So UVS Games lets me do it with my good buddy Jeremy. Or maybe even people.
Yes.
Who knows? If you guys have any questions for Jeremy that maybe weren't answered here, leave them in the comments down below. I will get them to him, and he will answer what he can when he can. But again, man, thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure. And I really do want to do things more like this more. As one of the things as a game design team we've talked about is communicating more with the community in ways that aren't just blurbs or writing, that we can be a little more nuanced in those conversations.
Yeah.
Could be a little more visible. Because I understand that some people have questions like, why ban this card now? Or why not ban this card now? Or what was the idea for releasing this product here or releasing this product in this style and shape? And there are answers that aren't always satisfying when they're just written out as a line or two without being able to really talk about the nuance. So I would love to do more stuff like this for you guys, the community, and with people like Tam and other content creators in the community to help talk about and answer some of the questions players have. And also, I can't stress this enough. If you see me at an event and you just want to talk about cards, I will happily talk about cards with you. Don't be afraid. If I'm card slinging at something, please come play me. I love meeting you guys this way. And we've grown as a community so much. And card slinging has been a really, really excellent way for me to meet new players and get to know them and experience them and build relationships with you guys. So please, just come talk.
With that said, thank you much for watching, you guys, and I wish you well.